Hey everybody, it's me again, back with another video for you, and I'm trying something new. I decided that it might be a good idea to get my family together and do a podcast for you guys. And we're going to call it the Chosen Phoenix Podcast. And I'm gonna start off by introducing the people I have at the table with me. Next to me here is my father-in-law.
Yep.
He's going to bring the old school, farmer up north to the table. And then over here I got my wife, Lexus.
Mm-hmm.
And I've probably said this in a few of my videos before, but she is a channel for God's Archangels. We'll get more into that. And Ellie over here is my daughter-in-law. And what she's bringing to the table is a little bit of the rainbow perspective, because she is married to my daughter, who is currently running the camera. And we were just kind of sitting here chit-chatting before the camera came on. We're kind of discussing as far as where we want to go with this podcast and what we want it to be about. Now, this video here is just going to be kind of an introduction, kind of throwing some ideas around as to, some things we could talk about and discuss. But mainly the reason why I decided I want to do this is to kind of give people hope and give them a different perspective from the people involved in it, as far as some of the struggles that they're going through or that they've went through on their path trying to find God in their life, so that the people that are watching it could get hope and encouragement that they'll be able to make it through as well.
And they also can go on there if they have questions or maybe a topic that they'd like discussed.
Yes.
And place a comment or ask your question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just kind of, throwing an intro out there with this video, and I would like to talk about, what life was for me before I got God in my life and what it is now. I think that would be a good topic to discuss at some point in time.
Okay.
At some point in time. No, we're not, it's, bear with me. I'm really new to this whole podcast thing. And, I'm used to just turning the video on and talking all by myself somewhere where I don't have anybody else to hear me. So,
yeah, so now you got some different faces on there besides just your
right.
smiley face.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and I'm a little bit anxious and nervous about the situation. I'm not the only one. Ellie is as well, because she's never even been on none of these guys have been on a camera, so I had to kind of, light a fire under them and encourage them that it ain't going to be as bad as they think it's going to be.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys want to get out of it?
Well, I think we should start by just kind of going to our background as far as what it was before. And like you said, we're trying to show the spiritual growth that we have had in the last several years.
Right.
Correct?
Right. Yep.
Okay.
And another thing is that each one of us has our own unique perspective on things.
That's right.
According to our background and our upbringing too.
Yeah. Like I was born and raised strict Catholic, but I fell away from that because of certain things in the church that I disagreed with.
Right.
And what were you born and raised?
I was Lutheran.
Lutheran?
Mm-hmm.
They're a little more liberal, or I guess you would say, as far as some of the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did you ever really feel accepted?
No, the church I went to was very strict church. It's kind of more like a Catholic church, but it was labeled as a Lutheran church. Yeah.
So I think that we can all say that everybody here has that in common of having a hard time finding God through the church, or having the church rub us in the wrong way, so to say. And I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that all church is bad, or that it doesn't do good for the world. But for me personally, I didn't find God going to a church. I went to a church after I found God. And that you know, and even then, I still wasn't comfortable there, and you know, decided not to attend anymore for my own personal reasons, not to discredit, you know, the good that churches do in the world, not, or to say that there isn't good churches out there. It's just I myself personally hadn't found one yet, you know, and that could be another topic of conversation in this podcast would be, you know, our experience in that, our experience attending church, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, good.
But I don't want to paint a bad picture.
No, I don't want to
either
paint a
at the
bad
same
picture
time,
neither, because whether you read the Bible or go to church every Sunday, you're getting good out of it. But and there's just some other things that we have found out, being that my daughter is a channeler, and it's just it opens your eyes. It opens your eyes to a point where you can see everything. And by meaning everything, I mean you got to stop and smell the roses. And I have got some stories to say, to tell you people, and I know there's a lot of you out there that don't believe in miracles, but I am a living, walking, breathing miracle, as you all are, because we were all born of God.
And that's another thing is, you know, being able to talk and discuss, you know, the ways that we have seen God in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
and the way that our eyes have been opened to be able to see it. You know, I mean, there's a lot of things going on out there in the world that kind of pull you a million different directions and keep you distracted to where you can't. Most people don't even believe that God is working in their lives,
No.
or that God loves them, or that they're forgiven, because there's a lot of things out there that try to show you otherwise, and it's hard to see,
Well,
you know.
yeah.
Because I'm sure each one of us could say that if we look back at our lives and the things that we've been through, that we could have been destroyed at any point in time,
Yep.
or something could have broke us and made us give up.
Yep.
You know, but there was something there that always came through. You know, as far as a solution to a problem or the strength to keep going. You know, and maybe that, you know, that hopefully we can show you guys out there that there is hope and that God is working in your life in a way that you haven't you know considered, or give you a new perspective or a new way to look at things. What do you want to talk about, babe?
I don't have really anything to talk about today. I'm just listening.
What do you want?
I think what will be brought to the table from my end is just like has been brought here to people around us, some strangers, that if there's something that needs to be taught or something that they can help with, they come through and they help. You know, back to on your guys' church thing. I had a very good experience growing up in you know, you guys had us in the Lutheran church, and
Yeah.
I had a very good experience with the church. You know, I learned a lot through the church, but I also have always had them with me ever since I was a child, helping me understand and navigate different things through the church. You know, even now we've been to a few churches, and I don't think that the message of God is a bad thing. I think it's just the way sometimes it's portrayed. You know, the biggest message that is going to be taught, I think, is that we all need to just love each other, no matter where you come from, who you are. You know, we all just need to have love first and foremost, and I think that that's lost a lot in this everyday world that we're in. You know, and so I think that some of the messages coming through will be a lot about that. You know, acceptance and love and forgiveness, and that, you know, no judgment. No
There's-
judgment should be given because there is not a single person on this planet that can
Right.
judge another.
Right.
They
That's
can't.
right.
So
Right.
I think, but as of right now, I'm just kind of here so that they can all meet me and see my smiley little face
Yeah.
Yeah.
and hopefully, I don't even want to say hopefully. I know that there's going to be some podcasts come through that there's going to be some good information, and I believe that the right person will hear it when they need to hear it. And again, like I said, if there's anybody out there who has questions or comments or any of that stuff, feel free, topics. Feel free. Because we are new at this.
Yep, that's what the comment section is for. So don't be afraid to move your little finger over the side of the screen and hit that comment button. And if you got anything that you got questions about or anything you'd like us to talk about in this new podcast, we are totally open to any ideas as far as what you might want to know from any of us as far as what we've experienced. Because it's been a pretty magical experience, I can tell you that.
It's been a very blessed
Right.
experience.
Right.
But we've also had our dark times.
Right.
And our trials and tribulations.
Right.
And we still go through them
We sure
almost
do.
every day. They
Mhm.
might not be as big as what they were, but once you find the way to look at God in the perspective that we do, the limits are,
There are none.
there's no limits whatsoever.
Right.
Because it may not be done in your time, but it will happen. There's certain things that he will help you with, but it's on his time. What do you got to say, Ellie?
Let's just put her on the spot. Here you
You're on
go.
the
That
spot.
is
Here you
a
go.
very,
Pass.
They kind of throw us on both
Yeah, they
sides.
kind of like threw us
Yeah.
on the thing there. I'm here to bring light to what it's like being part of the queer community and how a lot of people feel about religion and how sometimes you don't always feel accepted or you've had trauma from churches or and I don't believe that churches are bad. I think everybody has their own. There's a church a fit for each church.
Mhm.
The church fits you,
Mhm.
in a sense, kind of like a shoe.
Yep.
It's everybody perceives the Bible differently.
Yep.
And if you find somebody that perceives it the same way as you, it's going to be your church.
Yep.
Yep.
And I think a lot of churches are becoming more queer accepting, and it's starting to become more of a prevalent thing in churches. I know in Duluth there's quite a few, but
Duluth is getting noted to be very, very accepting of it, and there's a lot more. It's a lot more vocal in Duluth than it is in most other towns
yeah,
around.
But when you were born and raised, you were in a small town, though.
I was born in a very small town,
So then maybe.
about the size,
So I think
couple
maybe.
thousand people, and
Mhm.
it's very most of the towns I lived in were very small, and
So maybe acceptance
yeah, it
was
wasn't.
one of the things that.
It was a very big are you going to be accepted? Are you not going to be accepted? Is it gonna, are you going to be treated differently? Do you just wait till you go off to college and type of thing? And it normally in those towns it's person dependent. It's not like a whole community wide thing.
Yeah.
It's dependent on who the person is, how they feel about it, and that kind of thing.
Right.
Until you married this big family, and then you got your own community. See?
Right.
Well, just like we got our own church.
Kind of,
Right.
yeah, we do.
And,
Yeah.
as far as the the queer community and people that are in same sex relationships, the way that I feel about that is God is love. He's unconditional love. And if two women love each other, then how could you look at that as something that God doesn't accept?
Or two men. Two men love
Or
each
two
other,
men.
or-
Yeah,
What-
that's just the way I personally feel about it is people being in love are people in love.
Mhm.
And how can you say that love is a bad thing? regardless of
It's not.
what people are involved. You know,
Yeah.
and I don't know. That's my 2 cents on that topic. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I have to say about that. But yeah. So just an introduction, just a little idea of the people involved here, and you know, if like I said, if you got any ideas, what you'd like us to talk about, feel free to comment and share. You know, but I think that's about it. I think that's good enough for an introduction for now, ain't it, people?
I think that's pretty good.
Mhm.
All right. Well.